I'm self-isolating because my respiratory problems make the COVID-19 particularly deadly to me, so I'm going to use this newfound free time to finish some of my backlogged projects, starting with an alien flamethrower. I'm making this out of white EVA foam left over from the BD1 build. You can get this on Amazon, and occasionally I found it at Walmart. It cuts up pretty easy with the box cutter, although I find myself continually sharpening the blade, and for fine detail I use a razor pen. The one I'm using in this video was sent to me by Cosplay Apprentice from the stock that he sells. I cut the notches to make the bends more angular. See it? See it angle? You can glue these together with hot glue, but because I want the structural seams to be stronger, I'm using predominantly contact cement. This stuff gives off toxic flammable fumes and can take a day to air out. So while that was happening, I started on the bottles. They're actually just plastic bottles with the label removed. I didn't like the flat base, so I used foam left over from the red guy build to round them out. Anyone who's used spray paint on styrofoam before knows they don't like each other very much.
For real, that's actually how they did it in the movie. Except I think they were using actual acid.
Why is the ship made of styrofoam? So I coated them in quick seal, which is not that quick. I mean, relatively. I know I should be wearing gloves for this, but they're in short supply right now due to the global pandemic. In a few years, that's gonna sound really weird out of context. Alright, those need to dry overnight, so let's get back to the body, which will have aired out by now. It looked a little too long to me, so I chopped off the end and made some other refinements. I'm tempted to close it up, but there's a lot of structural stuff that will be much easier to work on if I leave it open for now. I made the handles in the top vent and marked where I want them to go. Then I contact cemented them and sanded the edges on my belt sander. Someone recommended that I get a belt sander cleaner, which greatly extended the life of my belt. So thanks, insert graphic, because I'm terrible with names. I'm making the barrel out of an aluminum pipe and a bottle cap. I worked on the front for a while. I can get away with hot glue right here. Actually, you know, you could probably get away with hot glue for the entire thing as long as you or your actor knows the limitations of the prop.
Lovely sound. That's some good Foley. It's like the sound that Pixar lamp makes. There, it's much better. Of course, the barrel is now 3 feet long. I'm gonna say there. You only get that with side cutters. I'm gonna sand that because it came out slanted. That's sanded flat now. Now I gotta get the end cap there. What I'm doing is stalling until the hot glue gun heats up. Okay, and that's there.
Then I built this support structure on the inside and cut a rectangle out of the other side, which will form an alcove for the bottle assembly later.
This is after one day. It's better than it was. It's all sealed in there now, but needs a few more layers to get smooth.
Yeah, those are gonna need another layer, so much later. I glued on the triggers and finally closed it all up. I forgot to sand the support in the middle, so it's sticking out just a smidge. It's totally a legitimate unit of measurement. How much? About 3 metric smidges. It's about 3 smidges high. So to keep the seam secure while the glue dried, I weighted it down with whatever I had on hand. People freaked out when I used like 2 feet of solder ballast in my Grail video, and they were all like, "How dare you waste solder?" And I'm like, I think I'll manage.
Hey Jake, do we need to check this scene for anything before we start rolling? Like what, other Jake? I don't know. Maybe dead moths? Disgusting. You, sir, are going in some amber.
Have to dust off and nuke the whole thing from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. I use these half dowels from Michaels for the details on the sides. I did have to round the ends on my belt sander though. I marked out where they would go in pencil first. I thought that this would help keep the glue from going beyond where it needs to and staining the white foam, but clearly I was wrong. We were so wrong. Alright, new meme repays. Alright, another day of drawing before I can work on this again. Do you guys see, are you getting a sense of why it takes so long to build something? So back to the bottles. For the various knobs, I used dials. Nope. There we go. Some of which can be painted. And the pipe fittings I made out of more foam dowels to save on weight. Some are from Michaels, some are from TNT Cosplay Supply. I think I said that already. The challenge is to get one dowel to fit inside the other when you're cutting into something that's flexible. It's a very professional prop making tool called Part of Broken Tripod that was smashed in fit of rage. I go through so many tripods, guys. Once that assembly was together, I secured them to the bottles with super glue because it seems to be the best for foam to metal. In fact, I use super glue on most of the small foam parts because that's why. It's a great way to match your shots to the dialogue, Jake. But this shot does illustrate one of my points. One issue with hot glue is that it adds mass, so the seams will have to be filled in later, and that's an extra step. Contact cement is much better, but tends to stain the light colored foam as you saw. Not to mention it has a 15-minute working time, and add on that a 24-hour dry time until it's no longer toxic. Super glue, on the other hand, has no downsides whatsoever. It's absolutely perfect So I kept working like that for longer than I like to admit, attaching all the details with a lobster claw, until I finally found my stage makeup kit.
And it's a makeup tutorial. This is from my movie makeup kit, which is it wasn't a thing I bought, I just slowly assembled it over the years. Adhesive, none of this is the remover. Oh, it's still in the other thing. And there's a spirit gum remover.
Oh, I don't have I have Q-tips exactly for this purpose.
In a pasta sauce jar. What the hell else are batteries? Yeah, I always store the Q-tips with the batteries in the pasta sauce jar. Support me on Patreon so I can have a bit more professionally organized shop.
Spirit gum, little obsolete. It's not fantastic for skin. Commonly used stuff now is Prozaid, which I guess the label is worn off a bit. Learned about that from a woman dressed as a Zabrat, and I love it. Oh, it is all just running down my finger. There we go. Getting there. Oh, I can feel it.
And that's how you keep most of your fingerprints.
Now for the greeblies. I think the movie Flamethrower has a better overall shape, but it is somewhat sparsely populated when it comes to details, or greeblies. By contrast, I appreciate the video game level of detail a lot more, but the shape reads to me as wrong, especially since some of the details are reversed from the movie version. So I decided to split the difference by going with the movie structure and the video game level of detail. Actually, I think I went a bit overboard on the detail. To tell the truth, I went a little bit crazy here. I heated up some white Plastidip and coated the thrower, not so much to seal it up. You know, normally you would do this to foam before you paint it, just as a base. But here I'm just trying to cover up those glue stains. Okay, another day for that to be dry. How many days is that? I've lost count.
So I totally messed this up. In the video game, it's like this, which is much more convenient, I have to admit. But in the movie, it's like here. I don't know what that's about. I'm assuming that it's a mechanic and an artist just not communicating, which, believe me, happens all the time. Oh my god, you have no idea. But anyway, now that I've realized that, I gotta cut this up, which would be super easy if I hadn't put a little bit of wood in there.
I painted these with model kit paints, which worked out a lot better than I thought it would. It's gloss tester's paint.
Okay, this is dry, and I think it reads pretty well. The issue here is that this is gloss, my attachments are matte. And I could paint them gloss, that kind of worked here, but I'm out of gloss. And I can't exactly run to the store for more right now. So just to get the ends to match the body, I'm gonna paint it flat white. There's a kosher salt container with the label cut off and a spent duct tape roll jammed inside there. This is so that I can hang this and paint it vertically.
While those were drying, I added the off-colored greeblies to the thrower. Some of these are from the movie and some are from the game, kind of mixed and matched. I used very long eye bolts for the shoulder strap hooks and an old camera bag strap for the strap itself. One time jump later, I reattached all the fuel bottle tanks. Reattach? Sure. And for the nozzle, I used a socket from a bottle lamp kit. But Jake, why would you do such a thing? Because movie magic! Hashtag inspired by Adam Savage. You can find these light bulbs on Amazon and nowhere else. You know, in case anyone from that medieval stage play I was at is watching this and wondering where their sconces went. Lastly, I added a spark plug cover to hide the switch and built a stand. So I have this wired into the wall because I'm planning on using it as a reading lamp. How's that gonna work? Funny you should ask. If you're looking to build this as a convention prop and you want to walk around with it, then you're going to have to wire in batteries. It's not that complicated, but not what I need it for. Although I would recommend, if you're taking this to conventions, instead of a bottle lamp kit, build this out of a work lamp, because those have cages over the bulb. And without that, if someone bumps into you, it'll become simultaneously a shiv and a cattle prod. I can't wait to do this to my John Carpenter's The Thing flamethrower. Oh wait, I sold it so that I could make Rent. It actually bummed me out because that's one of my favorite movies. And I really don't want to have to sell this one, so if anyone out there isn't suffering financially from the outbreak, consider supporting me on Patreon like all these wonderful people. Patrons receive the videos ad-free and early, not to mention the more I have, the more elaborate the builds can be. See, normally at this point in the video I have an actor demo how the prop would be used in a scene, but all my go-to actors are self-isolating during this whole situation. I don't know. Support me on Patreon so I can have a budget to put together a alien fan film once we're on the other side of this thing. And thanks for watching. If you like this video, consider subscribing and checking out these other tutorials. I've got a few more alien ones in the past and a few more on the horizon. Not to mention all the other franchises I've built from. Alright, see you later. Okay, that should be good. I'm dead.